everyone, I'm Joti Balani. I am founder and managing director of FreshRiver.ai. We are a conversational AI and data science consultancy. We do strategy and delivery for the Fortune 100. And I'm very excited to be joined by Alexi Schwartzkopff. Hopefully I got that right. She's the senior innovation manager for Appen. Welcome, Alexi.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy to be enjoying the show?
Oh yeah, it's great. It's awesome to see the intersection of all the different disciplines come together under one roof. It's really exciting.
It is, yeah, and in flesh and blood, right? I tell people have jumped out of their screens.
Yes.
So tell me, what problem has Appen set out to solve?
Sure. So obviously there's all the magic of when you have these AI models live and from the consumer experience perspective. But in order to fuel that, Appen is sort of behind the scenes and working with a lot of the global companies in order to ensure that we have the training data in order to have those things come to life. And so we have 1 million contributors, and we have a global presence and 25 years of experience in the space with linguists and professionals that have kind of seen it all through all of the hype cycles and kind of stuck through it. So we've got really great experts on the case in order to help solve for some of the most challenging areas of data collection and training data collection. So, for example, we have a voice assistant benchmark solution, which is aimed to help close the race gap in the fact that we don't have enough training data for African American vernacular for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
And so we've set out to make sure that we can curate groups that understand the way that the training data process works, understand why it's being used, and then that way we can get them part of the loop and make sure that they are feeling that they're part of the process and then in turn when it does come into production that they will be even more included in this voice space.
Absolutely. I think it's more critical than ever. We call it diversity and inclusion, but I think including the entire spectrum of the human race in the training data is very, very important in taking bias out of the system.
Yeah.
What's the sweet spot? What's the differentiator? Like, what are you guys really doing that is different from everybody else?
Sure. So we actually serve, data collection across all different types. So it's not just voice that we work with, but if we just speak with to voice, we've done some really interesting work to help preserve languages that were, one language is an Aboriginal language, and we work closely with academics and linguists in Australia to preserve a language that the last known speaker actually passed on about 20 years ago. So the language would have been completely sort of dead, and we made sure that we could help preserve it and kind of honor it. And I think that kind of work we're able to do that because we are such a large organization and we have quite a lot of, we're not a not-for-profit, but we can work with these sort of projects, these pet projects, to make sure that we can really drive an impact in the industry.
It's a problem I think worth solving because I think we do have to preserve our history, right? For future generations. What industries and verticals and functional areas are gravitating? Like, what adoption are you seeing happen?
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting is that everyone is trying to get into this space, and everybody's trying to leverage this type of technology. We even ran a study for our State of AI report, and we found that 80% of the C-suite think that this is definitely part of their solution and they need that, but there's only about 13% of those companies that have actually realize that. So that's a huge gap, and we kind of serve across all verticals. I mean, we're in one of the really cool use cases that we've been a part of is like helping the Amazon Alexa team ensure that we can increase the number of languages.
Sure.
So we work a lot with those languages like on a global scale, making sure that we can go to those markets and really ensure that we can do it at scale, which is really challenging in some markets more than others, depending on a number of variables. So we can really basically, we have the ability to scale because we're a large organization. We have the global presence.
Data, absolutely. I think it's very critical.
Yeah, because we do find that. So we do work with clients that already have their own data sets, and they can use our platform in order to annotate. And sometimes they even have experts. If they've got domain experts that have to do that.
Right.
We've got varying levels of being part of the process. So it's either using our technology or our experts, or we do the whole process for them and help advise what areas they might be missing based on the fact that we've seen help build such amazing models for some global clients. We can use that domain knowledge and help other companies that come to us ensure that they're not missing anything in their scope, and then we also do a lot of like toxicity detection, which is really interesting, and making sure that all of the actual algorithms that are operating are continuously being monitored and measured.
You
and
need a human in the loop to make sure it doesn't go off the rails, right?
Exactly, and I think that's going to be an ongoing need, which I think is really great, right? Because even in the fear about AI, and when you realize how humans really do have to be part of the process on end to end, and you can't really remove that.
No,
you know,
can't.
our languages change, vocabulary is changing all the time, so all of these things really make it kind of a cool industry to be in, because you really have to have your ear to the ground as all these trends are coming up, and different linguistic trends, and so we have experts kind of monitoring all this and advising our teams so we can see what's coming around the corner.
Excellent. What do the next 6 to 12 months look like? Anything exciting you guys want to share?
Yeah, the next 6 to 12 months, I mean, we're like I said, we operate in many different data collection projects, and we have some really cool medical use cases coming down the track, and obviously there's some really moving stories, right? You hear of folks that have speech disorders and how being able to use this technology can help them communicate with their families. So we have some really cool projects underway now that are helping to bring that to life. So in the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to be able to deliver against that, so our clients can make sure that they can build the models that are going to work for these folks to really make them have a better life experience. And I think that's really critical and important for us to be working on.
Yeah, I think finding the right problems to solve, because capitalism is definitely a goal for everybody.
Sure.
However, there's some serious societal issues that we need to solve for, right? I always tell our clients, you don't want to end up in the AI Hall of Shame, right? If you haven't used your data correctly, right?
Exactly.
How about partnerships? Are you guys, have any critical partnerships that are helping you go to market or solve, upstream problems with your clients?
Yeah, so we have an established relationship with AWS, and we even have on there for the developer, like the App Store, like we have an Appen tool. So we continue to work closely with them to figure out what's the best way that we can help their developer network and kind of pop ourselves into that process. So there's a couple of different conversations underway, obviously a lot of exciting opportunities, but then measuring the go-to-market impact and all that. So we have a lot of discussions with AWS on how we can use our different, like we've got a knowledge graph tool that we built, so and that's really it's been built alongside a lot of the engineers and developers at AWS, giving us some feedback and everything, because they that was something that we could work on, this piece of the puzzle, and help bring that to life. So there's some really cool opportunities for our organization to leverage our technology, and really build new platforms and new components of the technology to help the developers space, more broadly speaking.
Sure. In the last 2 minutes, one of the challenges, and you guys are right in the middle of that space, right? Because data drives a lot of the machine learning algorithms, deep learning algorithms. Being able to get an enough sample size, for example, for language or domain, or even how humans speak. Do you guys have like a strategy that's really made you successful? Obviously, you guys have been at it for a while. Is there anything that you're using strategically that's different than any of the other competitors?
So actually, like my background is the market research industry, and obviously they've been at this for over 100 years. 1920s is when that sort of at least the street intercept started, and then the industry sort of took off and became qualitative only later down the track. But we have a few folks that have that background as well, so that from the delivery perspective as well. So we've got established network of partners that have global reach, and even though their proprietary databases aren't necessarily typically used for these types of tasks, we've sort of educated them and worked closely with them to figure out how can we make sure that their proprietary database and all the access that they have, globally to augment our 1 million contributors. How can we help, reach all these different areas of the world, but really lean into the fact that you have to have like an editorial relationship with a lot of these folks. There's a bit of an education process, and especially like the quality that you need. And we know that, humans in general, there's a bell curve. So it takes quite a little bit of education and patience to make sure you can curate these groups. So we really lean into the fact that you need to have an established relationship with the folks doing the tasks, so that way you can encourage them to do it correctly, which is to the benefit of everyone, but then also build these sort of sub-communities of folks that understand these tasks, that understand that they're part of this process, and it sort of opens their eyes, because 45% of the population has a Amazon Alexa, right? So we're all very familiar with this technology, and so when we can kind of tap our partners on the shoulder and say, hey, look, you can be part of these processes, that is actually really exciting for our partners, as well as, we're doing a lot of wearables testing, which is interesting because apparently like the skin tone actually impacts whether or not the sensors work. So we have to do quite interesting data sourcing strategies in order to facilitate that, because obviously that it's a sensitive type of topic, and there's a lot of considerations on how to do that in an appropriate manner. So we spend a lot of time investigating the best way to do that, and we've got some really interesting partnerships that sort of aren't what you would expect, and that's how we make sure that we can bring all of that to fruition.
That's fantastic, and that's really true innovation. Alexi, thank you so much. We'll be keeping an eye on Appen and all the work that you guys are doing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Safe travels back home.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.